Putin, Putin, Putin.
Canada isn't the only country in the midst of an election. That is the mayor of Moscow celebrating the latest victory of President Vladimir Putin's United Russia party in parliamentary elections. The vote stretched over 3 days, and most of the count is complete. Putin's grip on power seemed assured from the outset, though, with his biggest critics barred from running. There are also claims of widespread vote rigging. Briar Stewart is our new CBC Moscow correspondent. She joins me live from there. Congratulations, Briar. What explains this election outcome?
Well, really, Suhana, I mean, this is not a surprising outcome because everything about the campaign and the election itself was really designed in a way to ensure that United Russia would stay in power. And the party has come away with a majority, about 50% of the vote. It is, of course, the party that supports Vladimir Putin. And I mean, you heard the chanting there in that election night headquarters that you played there. I mean, this is something that people expected, and it's turned out this way. And you had some of the most critical voices who opposed the government barred from the election, barred from running. Alexei Navalny, of course, who survived being poisoned last year, was banned from running. He's now in jail. Many of his allies, people who were part of the same organization as him, were also banned from running. Some of them are in exile. And with having those voices be absent from the ballot really changed the whole nature of the campaign. And it really kind of created this whole crackdown. And Navalny and his colleagues had come up with a strategy. They were calling it a smart voting campaign. And it was really an idea to try to get people to rally behind individual opposition candidates in their individual districts because they didn't want the vote to be split among several opposition candidates. And so what has happened is that the Communist Party, who had really benefited from this whole smart voting campaign. They got about 20% of the vote, which is a pretty sizable jump over the last parliamentary election, which was in 2016. But I spoke with a political analyst here who actually used to be a former speechwriter for Vladimir Putin. He's now quite critical of the electoral process. And he said that when it comes to the votes that the Communist Party got, it really should be seen as a protest vote.
It's not the result of the growing popularity of the communist idea, of course. This is just the result of so-called protest voting. The opposition didn't have any other options in ballots how to express their negative attitude towards what is happening in the country.
Now, several leaders with the Communist Party say they are not accepting the official tally that was released today. And part of the reason for that is there was electronic voting that took place, and it took several hours for the ballots from the electronic voting to be turned over. And in some cases, once they were revealed, it showed that the result from online was quite different than at the polling stations where people went to vote in person. And so because of that, you have some from the Communist Party basically protesting the vote and calling for protests as well.
So as well as opposition candidates, Briar, being barred and the numerous claims of ballot stuffing, forced voting, what else are you hearing? Well,
there's a lot of allegations of that. And in fact, social media was flooded with different videos from webcams that are set up at all of the polling stations of people and allegations of ballot stuffing. I mean, in some cases, there were videos where voters had so many pieces of paper, so many ballots in their hands that it was so difficult for them to actually put it in the ballot box themselves. And the Electoral Commission, the officials in Russia, say that there were about 25,000 votes that they threw out because they were not cast in a proper, appropriate way. They say that this is quite a small amount considering the size of Russia. But observers who were watching this election, certainly observers from the opposition parties, say that the number of violations is actually much larger than that this was a much more pervasive problem. And they really think that this was an election where Putin and his allies really tried to minimize the number of observers here on the ground, able to watch the vote come in. And the results certainly show, it was a very good election for United Russia.
We'll talk again. That's CBC's Briar Stewart in Moscow.